May the 30th is World MS Day this year, and this year we're raising awareness about invisible symptoms, which is something we get a lot of comments and questions about here at the MS Trust. So we picked some questions that we're going to ask Claire from our information and engagement team, and hopefully she will give some answers. Right, so the first question is about pain. I suffer with pain in my legs, particularly at night. I can't get to sleep before 6 a.m. Is there anything I can do to ease the pain so she can get a night's sleep?
Absolutely. Poor sleep is really common in MS. About 50% of people report some kind of sleep disturbance. And that's one of the things that no one can tell. I mean, sleep problems really are an invisible symptom. And obviously pain can be a big part of the sleep issues. And it isn't uncommon at all for people to feel that pain is much worse at night. Now, this might be something to do with not having other distractions around, or it might be to do with pain medication that you're taking wearing off. Obviously, there's two kinds of pain. There's muscular pain, and that kind of thing can usually be eased by massage, gentle stretches, light or moderate exercise in the daytime. You might have to try a few things around improving your posture, thinking about how you use your body during the day to sort of improve matters, and that's where physiotherapists might be helpful. Nerve pain, though, that can be treated with drugs like amitriptyline, gabapentin and pregabalin, or duloxetine, and they aim to calm down those nerves, and sometimes they cause drowsiness as a side effect, so you can use that as a benefit in the right dose, taken at the right time, might just help you get to sleep and also get some more restful sleep as well. So you'll need to work with your prescribing nurse or your doctor to get the right things worked out for you.
So here's another one which is also related to pain, talking about the dreaded MS hug. Now, if you don't know what the MS hug is, it's a very unpleasant thing, and it can be in other places, but a lot of people say they get it in the torso, so around the ribs, but we've heard people having it around the head and all sorts of things. So this person says, I think I have the MS hug. My back pain has responded to tramadol, but I have a tight, painful band around my torso, which is totally resistant to any painkillers that they've tried. What should I do?
Yes, as we said, nerve pain is really resistant to painkillers. Regular painkillers won't touch nerve pain. You need specific drugs for that. Now, the MS hug could be a kind of nerve pain, but it might also be down to spasms in the little muscles between your ribs as well. And if it's spasms, then baclofen, that drug might be suggested, and sometimes it's a combination that works best. So it's worth thinking actually about whether this could be part of a relapse. So do mention that to your MS nurse. Steroids could therefore be an option to clear it up faster. But for most people, the MS hug, it's annoying, it's uncomfortable, but it does pass without needing treatment. And then it comes down to how you manage it in the daytime. Some people have found that creating a sort of understandable reason for that tight feeling can help them live with it. So they might wear a tight top or a bandage or something, or a tight glove. But alternatively, some people find they just cope better if there's nothing touching it and it's all quite loose and lightweight. So on the whole, it's a balance of self-management and speaking to your MS nurse.
And it might be also worth talking to other people with MS who's had it, to get some of those tips about whether you want something tight against it or not. We do see a lot of people talking about this on the Facebook group, and it could be some interesting and creative solutions to it.
Try it, see what works.
Right, so next one is related to fatigue, which is probably almost the most common invisible symptom that we hear about.
About 96% of people with MS report fatigue at some point, so it's kind of everybody.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that people just don't get either, because they say, we all get a little bit tired. But MS fatigue is very different beast altogether, isn't
above
it?
and beyond what you might expect from the normal activities you've been doing.
So this question, have you got any advice for relieving fatigue? I've been signed off work for 2 weeks by the GP, as I've been almost falling asleep when I'm driving, which is obviously a bit of
an issue. Avoid that.
I can still work from home, but even when I do 1 to 3 hours, I start feeling like I can't do anymore and I have to sleep for at least 1 hour to cope.
Yeah, fatigue, it's such a tricky one. Again, totally invisible. So for most people, managing fatigue comes down to planning your day, pacing yourself, prioritising the things you want to do and need to do, and taking time to rest. Now that's fine if you can please yourself all day, but if you've got to go to work, obviously it's going to, and it's affecting your driving, it's going to be really impacting on your independence and your working life. So you could look and see if there's anything that's contributing to your fatigue. Is it secondary fatigue maybe, due to sleeping badly, due to coping with pain during the daytime? Are you actually giving your body the right fuel to be awake? A fully nutritious diet, plenty of fluids. You might try eating little and often. Sometimes people have big crashes after big heavy meals, for example. If you've got any medications you're taking, are any of them contributing to fatigue as a side effect? So can you take those drugs at different times? Stress, low mood, being down, all that kind of thing, that really doesn't help fatigue at all. So properly switching off, doing something you love doing, really relaxing from time to time does really help. There is good evidence that exercise helps. I mean, it might sound counterintuitive, but actually weak muscles are harder to move. So moving tires you out more when you're unfit. So don't do too much too soon, still pace yourself, but think about getting yourself active and fitter if you can. Oh, and finally heat, of course. Heat can really make fatigue worse. So you might think about whether your car heater is turned up too much.
Now we have a question about opticneuritis, which is often one of the first symptoms that people with MS experience. This question is quite interesting because they say, can opticneuritis just start with pain rather than anything sort of affecting the vision?
Mm-hmm.
Can it be detected at an optician, so does it need specialist equipment? Somebody's having some like pain with the eye, but they haven't had any loss of vision.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Obviously, optic neuritis can be a condition in its own right. It is really quite closely associated with MS as well. My understanding is there isn't always vision loss, but usually there's something. It might be blurred vision, it might be a reduced visual field, or it could be changes in how you're seeing colour even. So usually it gets worse over a week or so, and then it resolves again, perhaps over a week or so. If it's really troublesome, then absolutely steroids are an option to clear it up faster. So do speak to an MS nurse. It could be put down to a relapse. But also, do go to an ophthalmologist. Usually better to see somebody at a high street opticians who will be able to at least rule out anything else. Because if you think this is something a little bit unlike your normal optic neuritis experience, then it's always worth getting that sort of thing checked out.
And I think it's good to always keep your MS nurse informed as well, if you have one, because I've had optic neuritis once, and I went to the optician and they couldn't see anything in the eye, and they sent me off to like an eye specialist hospital, and they couldn't really see anything either. But then with all the symptoms that I was describing to the nurse, they realised that, well, it probably is, and then they could tell me later on when they had scans and stuff that that's what it was. But rather than be sort of fobbed
because it's
off,
it's not a defect in the eye itself, it's about inflammation in the nerve between the eye and the brain. So, but an ophthalmologist will be able to rule out anything else. They'll be aware of optic neuritis, and if you say you have MS and this is what you're experiencing, they'll be able to help.
Right. So I'm experiencing real difficulties with my bladder at the moment. I'm always concerned about leaving the house, as I just don't know when I'll need to go. It's leaving me incredibly anxious and embarrassed. Can you suggest any techniques to help?
Absolutely. Bladder bowel symptoms, really common in MS, totally invisible. And it affects so much of what you do. It's like an invisible shackle to the toilet, isn't it? If you're worried about leaving the house at all. Don't be shy. Talk to GP and get a referral to a continence clinic or continence nurse. This really is one of those things that can be treated. There are some excellent, really quite well tolerated medications that they'll reduce how often you need to go to the loo, maybe cut down on sort of involuntary bladder contractions as well, so you're not going to be so worried about having an accident. So at a continence clinic, you might get an ultrasound of your bladder maybe to see if it's properly emptying when you do go. So, and once they know what's going on, they can really treat it. But in general, in the meantime, don't be tempted to cut back on the fluids, because that will mean your urine gets really concentrated, and that is a breeding ground for infection. do what you can to maintain a healthy weight, and experiment a little bit. Things like fizzy drinks, alcohol, caffeine, very acidic drinks like citrus juices, they have been found to make the bladder a little bit more just sort of sensitive, so cut back on those a bit. Try just plain water and milk and things like that for a little while, see if that makes a difference. Pelvic floor exercises, you can a physiotherapist can help you with those as well. And also that there's many more options if these don't work, and you can get hold of things like radar keys and cards to allow you to use facilities when you're out and about that are otherwise locked. There's even a great British toilet map online. You can see that on our website. So you can find all the options and get and plan in advance to kind of really make life easier for you.
There's loads and loads of information on our website because we have books on the topic that you can send after or you can read online. And there's a really good podcast that we made as well, talking to a continence nurse and people that were struggling with it. If you go to the website and search for podcast, you'll find it, and all the books and everything is on there as well.
Yeah, it is one of those things that can be fixed. Definitely a positive experience to go to seek out a health professional. I'm not a medical professional. I'm a member of the MS Trust Health information team. So do speak to your own MS nurse or your GP or another member of your health professional team if you've got any questions at all. Okay.
And do give us a call if you do have other questions. It can be about invisible symptoms, but it doesn't have to be. It could be anything relating to MS. Or go have a look at our website. Go and look at our very excellent data set. It's filled with loads of good information. And find us on social media. You can come and like us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and talk to us.